You see, New York City is only one city. So how can you say that, how can you use this plural, city plural, connected with New York City? No. Remember, New York City was not the only city that was attacked. New York City was one. Washington D.C., the Pentagon, okay, and then I forgot this other state when where the other plane landed on the ground, on the earth. Forgive me, I don't have the state, but I do know. You could find it out in Google which state it was. But I know Washington D.C., where the Pentagon is, and also New York City was attacked with planes, and Islam was the focus. Okay, it doesn't matter what people say. You know, it's the Jesuits, it's the Freemasons, you know, Illuminatis, the secret societies. It really doesn't matter. What matters is the Bible says the focus will be on Islam. All right, Islam, the trumpets. So it says a day of trumpet, an alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. Okay, so this trumpet was against also the high towers in New York City, plural. And I will bring distress upon men, and they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against the Lord. And their blood shall be poured out as dust, and their flesh as the dung. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them. Now, after the towers fall, we see the stress, the war in Iraq, and then now we see that their silver and their gold neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them. We see financial crisis. Right after 9/11, war in Iraq, and then we see financial crisis. Just like Sister White puts it for us. The order, the pattern. 9/11, crime increases, war in Iraq, and then financial crisis. The Bible goes on to say, them in the day of the Lord's wrath, but the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy. For he shall make even a speedy radiance of all them that dwell in the land. Now, if you jump, you just go to Zephaniah chapter 2. If you go to the next chapter, right after 9/11, and also right after the financial crisis, what comes next? And this message should shake us. It should shake us. Now, chapter 2 of Zephaniah, the next thing that comes after 9/11, that comes after the financial crisis, which we are in right now, the next event that should take place, Zephaniah chapter 2 tells us, verse 1, gather yourself together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired, before the decree bring forth, before the day pass as the chaff, before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you, before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you. Now, which day of decree that Seventh-day Adventists are waiting for? It is the Sunday law. So the Sunday law comes right after the financial crisis. So 9/11 was an event to wake us up, because we are sleeping, we are dry as the dry dead bones, and we need to wake up and stand up and prepare ourselves before this great event, the Sunday law crisis. And chaff, what is a chaff? A chaff is something that is a waste or dried, something that is not needed, or it's you have the wheat and you have to remove the chaff from it. So the chaff it has no moisture. Or you could look at it as two classes of worshipers. You have the wheat and the tare, or the wheat or the chaff. So chapter 2 of Zephaniah tells us, gather yourself together, yea, gather together, O nation not desire, before the decree bring forth, Sunday law, before the day pass as the chaff. Now the chaff has to be removed by the wind, have to be blown away or shaking off. And we know this term, the shaking. So the latter rain is a message, but we also have to have an experience. And I will go through this in a few minutes. Now let's go to another witness. Zephaniah just shows us what Sister White had revealed to us. 9/11, crime increases, and also financial crisis. And Zephaniah just shows us the same thing. So that's one witness. Now let's go to another witness. Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah, chapter 30 and verse 23 to 26. Isaiah 30 and verses 23 to 26. And the Bible says, "Then shall he give the rain of thy seed, that thou shalt sow the ground withal, in bread of the increase of the earth. And it shall be fat and plenteous. And in that day shall thy cattle feed in large pasture. The oxen likewise and the young asses that ear the ground shall eat clean provender." Okay, now we're talking about the latter rain experience here. "Which hath been winnowed with the shovel and with the fan. And there shall be upon every high mountain and upon every high hill rivers and streams of waters in the day of the great slaughter. When the what? Towers fall." You see, the rain starts sprinkling. Okay? And then the towers fall. "Moreover, the light of the moon shall be as the light of the sun. And the light of the sun shall be sevenfold, as the light of 7 days. And in the day that the Lord bindeth up the breach of his people, and healeth the stroke of their wound." Now, there's a lot of meat in these verses. A lot of meat. Now, let me go over this with you. We see the rain. We see the towers fall. And then we see a great light that fills the earth. Just like Revelation chapter 18. Let's go to Revelation chapter 18 to see the same symbolism, the same image there. So Isaiah basically had the same vision that John had. Revelation chapter 18 and verse 1. The Bible says in verse 1, Revelation chapter 18, "And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory." So the whole earth was lightened with his glory. So if the Revelation chapter, if the angel of Revelation chapter 18, the mighty angel, is the latter rain angel, and then lighten the whole earth with his glory, what Isaiah just saw here, mentioned to us here, is that the rain brought blessing upon the cattle and the beasts of the field, all right, and also the grass and the herbs to benefit them. Okay, the rain should benefit us, all right, feed us meat in due season. And then we see that the towers fall. And then after the towers fall, what do we see? We see the sun actually brightens more. The moon brightens just like the sun. And basically, what does the sun bring to the earth? Light, glory. So it fills the earth with light. Alright? The Son of Righteousness is a message that fills the whole earth. And this message is already filling the whole earth right now as I'm speaking. So that's another witness. We see that the rain is connected with the towers that fall, which Zephaniah just showed us. Now let's go to chapter 32 of Isaiah, chapter 32 and verse 14 to 16. And the Bible tells us in Isaiah 32 verses 14 to 16, the Bible tells us, because the palaces shall be forsaken, the multitude of the city shall be left. The forts, the word forts means strength. The forts and towers shall be for dens forever. Now, what is a den? A den is a hole. Now, if you look at the ground zero in New York City, where the Twin Towers used to stand, is actually a hole, a nice decorative hole, a den, forever. So whatever people are telling you that one day they're gonna rebuild the towers, it's not gonna be fulfilled, because the Bible tells us that it is a den forever. It's gonna be a hole forever. And then it says, a joy of wild asses. Now, if you study Islam in the Bible, you see that Islam has so many different symbols that represent it. Wild ass, or wild donkey, or angry horse. The east wind, east. The locusts, the children from the east. The east wind, if I mentioned that already. So all these symbols represent Islam. Alright, the children of Ishmael. Alright, if you watch one of the videos that I made, the trumpet sound, the last 3 woes, then you will see what I'm talking about in full detail. So Isaiah 32, verse 14 through 16, we see that. Let me read it again. It says, because the palaces shall be forsaken, the multitude of the city shall be left, the forts and towers shall be for dens forever, a joy of wild asses. We see that the asses, or Islam, is happy, is in joy when the towers fell. Alright? Forever, a joy of wild asses, a pasture of flocks, until, verse 15, until the Spirit be poured upon us from on high. In the wilderness be a fruitful field, and the fruitful field be counted for a forest. Then judgment shall dwell in the wilderness, and righteousness remain in the fruitful field. Now, Isaiah 32 shows us here the towers becomes whole dens forever. We see that the wild asses are in joy. They are in joy. Alright, they're happy. Islam is happy. Okay, the asses represents Islam. And then we see that God poured His Spirit upon His people. The wilderness becomes a fruitful place and also a forest. What causes a wilderness to become a fruitful place? It's the rain. It's the rain. So right after 9/11, we have to connect the sprinkling of the latter rain within that event. Cannot separate those two. Cannot separate those two. Now, Ezekiel, another witness, Ezekiel chapter 27 and verse 26 and 27. Ezekiel 27 verses 26 and 27. In the Bible tells us here, thy roarers have brought thee into great waters. The east wind, keyword, east wind, hath broken thee in the midst of the seas. Thy riches and thy fares, thy merchandise, thy mariners and thy pallets, thy caulkers, and the occupiers of thy merchandise, and all thy men of war that are in thee, and in all thy company which is in the midst of thee, shall fall into the midst of the seas in the day of thy ruin. So we see that the east wind causes a financial crisis in Babylon. If you read the whole chapter, you will see that it is talking about Babylon. And we know what is spiritual Babylon today. The modern Babylon today is actually divided into 3. The dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. Or let me just say it like this. The dragon, which represents the the kings of the world, Egypt,